Well, joining me now is the Conservative MP and former leader of the party, Iain Duncan Smith. Welcome to you indeed.
Adam.
Does it matter if there's a deal or no deal to you?
Well, I'd rather have a deal because I think it's in the European Union's interest. We are their single largest trading partner, and it's in both of our interests to get a good free trade deal which will help both our businesses and their businesses, and I think that's important. And that also opens the door to our desire to do trade deals around the world with other countries as well. We are basically a free trading nation, and we want to push that process around the rest of the world.
But if there was no deal, that would be okay?
Well, if there's no deal, there's no deal. I mean, if the European Union wants to be stupid enough not to have a deal with their largest trading partner and to see the consequences, bear in mind they sell more goods than we do to them, so the balance is about £13 billion a year in our favour. I don't think that's a very clever thing to do on their part. That's why I don't think it's
I mean, apologies, there are 27 of them and one of us, so you'd expect that, wouldn't you?
Well, yes, but the point is, therefore, for the European Union, there's an even greater
But
imperative.
individually, as a percentage of business for most of them, actually, business is the UK for a country like France or Bulgaria is actually less important.
No, actually, I think for France we are the third largest trading partner. With Germany we're certainly the third. I think in France we're the fourth largest trading partner. Most of their agricultural goods, their wines, etc., would suffer dramatically. So I think it's not in their interests, and it's in our interest and theirs to have a trade arrangement, and that's why I think it's right that they should get on and talk about the trade stuff and stop messing around.
Of course, the customs union would be one sort of trade arrangement, wouldn't it?
Not really. If we're a member of the customs union, then that basically means two things. Everyone talks about the fact that the tariffs would be set in Brussels, which we would have to impose, therefore it would be impossible to have a trade arrangement with another country, because they'd then say, well, why? You've got nothing to negotiate with, because you'd have to set European trade levels, tariffs. But the other bit that people forget is that a customs union is also about alignment of regulations, because it's part of that process of selling across borders. So we'd have to align both our tariffs and our regulations. And that means, essentially, it would be impossible for us to do a trade arrangement with another country, because they'd simply say, why do you get zero tariffs to us and we have to pay tariffs going into the UK?
But in a lot of areas, aviation, for example, medicines is another example, we are going to have to align with the European Union, because that's how we do business with each other.
Well,
we agree to common rules.
Well, let's get this absolutely right. Companies who export to other areas of the world always have to align their product with their requirements. That's what goes on.
So
I mean, I was in that business.
Yeah, so
I know exactly what is it. Well, it's that you don't bear that all down on businesses. Bear in mind that about 10% of our businesses export to the European Union, but 90% of our businesses have to import all those regulations, which may make it more difficult for them to operate and to trade. So the idea here is, those that export to other countries, you want them to be able to align with those countries where they sell them their product, but you don't want to force everybody else in. It may not be selling to them. And that's the point of not being in the customs union.
Outside of the customs union, how is the car industry, for example, going to work, where a part may cross the border between Britain and the rest of the EU something like 16 times?
Yes, but even under WTO, by the way, there's only one tariff point for a part that's in a supply chain, so it doesn't keep getting tariffed. The second thing,
it changes, which you, by definition,
well, no, if it's in a supply chain, it does it. It doesn't.
So.
I mean, it's literally tariffed once. That's the first point. The second point about it is, that's why you want a trade arrangement, so that you clarify all of that for everybody. So if you have zero tariffs, they're able to trade exactly on that point. That's the whole idea of a trade arrangement.
Aren't we arguing, you know, on the head of a pin here?
Not really.
You want a trade arrangement, which amounts to a customs arrangement?
It's not. No. It's completely different. Honestly, Adam, a trade arrangement is about free trade between two nations. Another nation, us, are able, therefore, to set our own regulations and our external tariffs at the level that we wish. We want a zero tariff deal with Europe. If we were to go into a customs union with the European Union and outside the EU, we would have to accept all their regulations and all their tariffs, and we'd have no say over that. That would be the worst of all worlds.
Do you agree with Bill Cash, who sat in that chair earlier this week and told me that in the event of Britain being outside the customs union, the solution to the border between North and South in Ireland is to turn a blind eye?
No, look, 2% of Irish trade goes across the border to Northern Ireland, 65% crosses the Irish Sea to the UK. The issue is not the border in Northern Ireland.
Well, it is for a lot of people in
the
Northern
issue
Ireland
for
and
Ireland is the border with the UK across the board, because 65 to 70% of their trade is in the UK.
So how do you get around the fact you're moving from one trade area to another without a border?
Because you need a free trade arrangement. That's in the Irish interest, is to have a free trade, zero tariff deal, which encompasses all of that, and therefore there is not an issue.
So you wouldn't support the idea of turning a blind eye because it's such a little amount of trade?
Right now, we turn blind eye to some of the small amounts of trade that cross the border and go back, things like farm goods going over one side, milk, etc., bits and pieces like that, because it's just not worth the effort.
Because we're in the customs union, that's legal.
No, but even beyond that, we were doing it before we were even in the EU.
So just carry on turning
So the
a blind
reality,
eye.
no, but the reality is that, as the head of HMRC has said, there is categorically no need for fixed borders or to have a hard border in Northern Ireland, because all of this can be done before goods cross the border and after they cross the border. After all, right now...
Even although there are fixed borders between Switzerland and the EU, there are fixed borders between Norway and Sweden.
Yes, but go and have a look at these. And they actually, the head of customs in Sweden came over and gave evidence to the committee, which, by the way, was nearly ignored by the committee. He said, there is absolutely no need. You can have a frictionless border with a trade arrangement with another country. You do not need to get fussed about hard borders.
Which doesn't explain why 70-plus lorries are stopped on the border between Sweden and Norway every day.
Yeah. How long does a check take for a lorry you're not certain about, right? It's scanned, pre-checked,
and
scanned.
It takes 5 minutes. I mean,
it doesn't take 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
Just a reality.
The realities and the facts that go across the border.
Are you denying that
Switzerland is in the single market? But hang on, Adam. Let me finish. You asked me a question. Let me finish. All right. Switzerland is in the single market, but out of the customs union. And so when their goods cross the border for Switzerland, actually there is little or no friction whatsoever. They sell lots of goods. They sell more per capita to the EU than we do, and we are at the moment in the customs union. My point is,
there is still a border. That's all I'm saying.
It makes no difference. And yes, there's a border, but the question is whether you make all your checks at the border or not. There's a border right now between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland.
That, but then the head of
we have different tax rates.
The head of the police service of Northern Ireland said any infrastructure is likely to be a subject of attack, and has briefed his police service accordingly.
Well, I don't agree with him about that. I served in Northern Ireland. I was on those borders in Northern Ireland when we were looking for arms.
Well, they were being attacked.
They don't do it like that now. They have arms checks that are in Southern Ireland and in Northern Ireland. There is no need for that firm infrastructure. And I have to tell you, that kind of nonsense makes this an issue which it is not. The reality is, hang on a second, we have different tax rates. Right now, we manage that. We also bear down on illegal arms. We don't have a hard border between the two. We check on illegal goods. We don't have a hard border between the two. So, with respect,
but you're
if
saying
we're
the head
doing
of the
all of
police
that
service
now,
in Northern Ireland is talking nonsense.
I don't agree with him. I do not agree that having not being in the customs union will lead to some kind of increase in terrorism. If that's what's being indicated, that's incorrect.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.